75% of the maximum, and I'd turn it down to 25%.
Right, and he was probably an old rock and roller that spent a lot of time
yeah.
standing in front of speakers like I did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, you pay a price for that when you're older. Well, not to mention firing off fully automatic weapons without hearing protection, which...
You did that?
In high school. Once.
Jeez.
Just once. I was in a military academy, so they had those, and one of the NCOs got into the range, and some of us went in there and fired off some of the M16 we weren't supposed to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ouch.
But, yeah, that was a bad plan. That was.
Had you not fired a gun before that? Was that your first time?
I'd fired a gun before.
Did you think these would be quieter?
I hadn't fired a gun without hearing protection before. So I really didn't know the...
How old were you?
I was probably 14 at that point.
I think the first time my dad took me to a gun range, I was like 9 or something like that, or 8 or 10 or somewhere in that range.
See, up until then, I'd used the marksmanship rifles, and I scored a sharpshooter, but those things were... rimfire 22 longs. So
not as loud.
Not nearly as loud. Not near. It sounds like a cap gun in comparison. So it's
still loud. I mean, you still don't want to have your ear protection off for a 22, but it's nowhere near as bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I knew when I was pretty young that this was not a sound you wanted to hear without some hearing protection. XBLN Bullion Network is in our D-Live chat. He says he's digging the music. That was Pennywise and Revolution. Rich, you selected that.
Yeah, I'm really and thanks to Mark Capuzzo for turning me on to it.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, Mark.
Oh God, it's been a few years now, I think, since he passed away. You're referring to a friend. I mean, you're going to bring him up. We should probably tell at least a little bit of his story.
Yeah,
because there's an anti-drug war message, sadly, at the end of his life.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of anti-drug war messages. The thing...
Well, he died because of the war on drugs. Because of adulterated drugs that would not have existed if there was no war on drugs.
I believe so, but I'm not entirely certain of that.
I thought that's what the autopsy found, was that he had died due to...
Well, the autopsy found that he had a defective heart valve.
Okay, right.
That had failed, and he had mentioned, like Guitar John, he had mentioned to Guitar John that he had a heart thing. And he'd mentioned to me that he had a heart thing, so it was known. So it could be that he just took ecstasy one too many times. It could be that the same thing would have happened the next time he had sex with his wife.
But wait, did they actually determine that he had taken ecstasy? Because I thought he had not.
I don't know what they determined on that. What I do know that they determined is they told his wife that he would have been dead within weeks whether he'd taken the ecstasy or not because of the heart problem.
Huh. See, I thought that, and you know, you would know better than I would because you were definitely closer to both of them. But I thought that he had taken something that wasn't actually ecstasy, and that was one of the reasons why it triggered the attack.
Yeah, I've heard that rumor. I don't know that it's false, but I don't know that it's true. Nobody who would know has ever given that to me face to face. So. Possible, but I don't know.
It's one of those things that they may not have even checked for in the autopsy.
It is possible
to see if he had whatever the remnants are. You know, they're always some sort of, I forget the term for it, but when you take a drug, there's
metabolites.
Okay, yeah, something that remains in your body. It's not the drug itself; it's like the remnants of it, the metabolites or whatever.
Right. Every drug that gets broken down by the body gets broken down into something.
Right.
And in the case of alcohol, that's just water and carbon dioxide. But in the case of most of them, there's something more complex going on.
So Mark was a mutual friend. He, for a time, actually tended bar over the Keene Activist Center.
Yeah, he was a big part of the 420 rallies back in the day.
And you and he worked together closely. He was your bodyguard for a time.
Yeah.
Protected you from attack on at least one occasion on the property.
The funny thing is, the only time he ever had to act physically, because most of my customers were juggalos, so I just hired the biggest, baddest juggalo I could find.
Was Mark.
And it turned out to be a great guy. But yeah, the only time he ever had to got a wound in my defense, it was from a crazy white bitch.
What happened to the juggalos? I mean, for a while they were a thing in Keene, and they were like an obvious thing. Do they still exist, or have they pretty much all grown out of it?
Juggalos are still around.
Here?
I don't think they're as popular. I don't think that's as popular a thing in Keene as it used to be. And I don't know why or how that happened. I mean, I think one crowd grew up, but I don't know why. Usually that sort of thing, like Deadheads, there's always a new generation coming along, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I suspect many of them just grew out of it, would be my guess.
It
sort of always seemed to be the group of people who wanted to be an alternative group or whatever. They wanted to not be the normies, so they were the juggalos, that kind of group.
Yeah, well, it was an accepting tribe, and it was like the Deadheads in that the Deadheads always kind of looked at themselves as the all singing, all dancing crap of the world, as they put it in Fight Club. And so there's kind of an attitude of, well, nobody else wants to treat us right, but we can treat each other right.
Okay.
And that's a lot of the draw of that kind of thing. And some of the music is really good. Like they do a song, Insane Clown Posse does a song called Miracles that is,
is that the Magnets? How do they work?
That line is in there. But, that's actually a really good question, because in order to truly answer that question, you have to resort to quantum mechanics. And I couldn't do it on the air, but I've seen it on a YouTube video as a result of that song, because I was like, yeah, I don't really know how they work. And I watched it, but it was quantum mechanical. So, even immediately after watching it, I only half knew how it worked.
Well, we know that they do work, but exactly how is, interesting.
Yeah.
To learn about. By the way, how we are working tonight is on DLive. We're at dlive.lrn.fm, and also over at Twitch at twitch.lrn.fm. So if you want to join us, you can. And we've got all of 4 viewers. Let's see where's our number one viewership at tonight. We got 4 viewers on DLive. And I'm pulling up the Twitch dashboard here, and we are at 7 on Twitch. We're in the double digits.
All right.
Total. So welcome to the Freer Talk Live after show. We got comments here from the chat room on DLive, Rich. XBLN Bullion Network says, biocentrism uses quantum mechanics to prove that life creates the universe, not the other way around. I find that very interesting, that viewpoint. Have you heard about this?
I have not heard it. I think I understand where it's going, the idea that we create our own reality, which is an interesting answer to where did the universe come from? Well, we just dreamed it up. And why does it look like it came from a big bang? Well, because that's kind of what we expected to find, and so we found it. But then there's all the worldviews that turned out to be bullshit, like hell. Like a lot of people believed that there was like a hell under the earth, and not just Christians, but the Greeks believed it.
That story was created to control man, right? That was the idea behind that. You better do what we say, or you're going to burn in the bad place.
Yeah,
you don't want to burn, do you?
I mean, certainly it was on the Judeo-Christian. I guess it was on the Greek side, because they did, although Hades, everybody went to Hades when they died. But there was like judgments. There were people like Sisyphus who had to. I think Sisyphus was dying of thirst for eternity and trying to drink water through a slotted spoon.
Sisyphus wasn't the guy rolling the boulder up the hill?
Maybe. Okay, you're right. Sisyphus was the guy rolling the boulder up the
By the way,
hill.
you're getting called out. Paulie Voluntaria says in our Twitch chat room, "Aw, nobody left their pants on." LMAO.
Wow. Okay. Who was that?
Poly Voluntarist. I don't know who that is.
Okay, interesting. Well, keep that in mind. Poly Voluntarist wants to see me with my pants on.
Well, I mean, you had said during Free Talk Live that you would do your do the after show with no pants on, so they're calling you out.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, that was kind of a joke. I could go fetch a towel if you want.
Biocentrism.
But ain't nobody got time for that.
So yeah, the idea that life creates the universe, not the other way around. That if it weren't for life, that the universe would not exist. That there's probably more detail to the theory, but we've talked about that on Free Talk Live before, and it is an interesting one. The idea that, well, I mean, it also ties into kind of what I see as a New Age or pantheistic view of things, and that is that we are the universe experiencing itself. Mm-hmm. That's what's going on here, that through all of us, simultaneously, the universe, whatever that is, God, whatever you want to call it, is having all of those experiences at one moment, right? Like it's having the experience of being you and being me and all of the things that we want to do. And the question is, of course, do we have free will? And I would say that we do, because otherwise that would be pointless. So, what's the point of that experiment? If you already know everything that is going to be selected.
Well, I mean,
which of course suggests that God is not omniscient in that case.
That's definitely possible, but I don't know. Whenever somebody tries to reason with me about why God would do what he does,
well, yeah, you can't.
I have this image of like my dog Tika and your dog Jazzy having a discussion about why we do the things that we do,
and trying to figure it out from their perspective.
Yeah,
right?
and they can't be doing
limited.
It for that reason, because that would The thing is, we don't have that kind of intelligence individually. Now, the interesting thing about the internet is, to some extent, you can look at all humanity now, or at least all of the internet-connected humanity, as a single cybernetic organism, or possibly symbiotic. So that's really interesting. Also, I think,
it's got its benefits and its downsides. Well, we were just talking about you're into this DoorDash thing now, the delivery system that you haven't yet done one.
Yeah,
yet,
I haven't gotten a run yet.
You're into it.
I'm hoping to be into it.
Yeah, and they were writing an article about the millennials, and they're apparently more likely to stay home and order in rather than going to a restaurant, for instance. So, like, that connectivity is changing things for people.
Yeah.
And it's changing.
And I'll bet you $1 they're staying home with Netflix on.
Yeah.
And chilling.
That's what they have. Apparently that means fucking. I don't know if you were aware of that, but that's what
that
means.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I remember posting, even years ago, I posted a meme that was this woman she's obviously getting fucked from behind, although you can't see the guy, but you just see his arm pushing her head down into the pillow, and the caption on the thing is, "You don't even have Netflix, do you?" Because what it was people would say, "You want to come over for Netflix and chill," and the next thing you know, they're
fucking
bumping uglies.
They didn't even get to the movie.
Yes.
So 603-283-6160. If you call the show, you will. If we get 2 callers tonight, we'll have as many callers as we did during the radio show.
Yeah, what's up with that? Or is callership down, or is it just down on Thursdays? No, it's been that way for a long time. No, it's just that you never. First of all, you never know when there's going to be a busy night on a weeknight, right?
And it's just the way it is. I don't know. I mean, we had more callers when Free Talk Live was a local show in Sarasota, Florida. We had wall-to-wall calls when we were a local show. And then as soon as we got syndicated, the calls just dried up.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's weird. And And I don't think we have that many more calls now when we're on dozens of stations on a weeknight compared to one or two or three. Like when we were syndicated. Yeah. I mean, it's not that people aren't listening. People are listening. It's just that most people who listen will never call. And, we're not in the biggest market. So if we were in some big markets and we were live, we'd probably get better participation.
Right. Well, the other thing is with a local show, it seems like, more likely that your friends are going to be listening to the same show. And
sure.
So that might help call-ins. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, generally, you don't necessarily know when you're tuning into a radio station unless you've listened for a while whether or not you're listening to someone local, right?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Like a good show can kind of cover the fact that they are not local without ever really, if they're not talking about the place where they live, then they're not going to necessarily reveal that they aren't local to the local audience. Here, we don't care about that. We're honest with our listeners. We're not trying to fool anybody. We're going to tell you we're in Keene, New Hampshire, because there's cool shit happening here and you need to know about it.
Right.
So we have our reasons for, breaking down that particular wall, if you will. Polyvoluntarist in our Twitch chat says, "Where's Vincent for the religious talk?" He is in Hanover, I believe, New Hampshire.
Do you think we should find an alternate Crazy Talk provider while he's gone? Not that most of what he says is crazy talk. Just
it's crazy when he
stuff.
Gets to the religious shit.
When he gets to the religious stuff,
He's
just
out of the
like,
fucking reservation.
Vincent, my brother, are you the same frigging genius that the rest of the stuff you say falls out of? Because how do you buy that shit?
I don't know. It's one of those things where sometimes I don't know if somebody's trolling or if they actually believe that shit. Like, it's almost unbelievable that somebody could buy. Like, for this listeners that don't know, we're talking about Vincent, who's the host of Questioning Authority, which airs live on Saturday nights on LRN.FM.
But there's one authority just won't question, and that's the frigging Bible.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, good
and
point.
I don't understand. I mean, in a way, it's tempting to believe that it's true just because the sheer absurdity of the tale. It's like, if you're going to make something up, wouldn't you make up something that makes more sense than that?
Yeah.
But
I don't get it.
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, he's a really smart young man, and it's just so confusing when he goes off on the Catholic shit. It's just like, huh?
Yeah,
Where are you coming from on that?
Yeah, and just from one of the reasons that I started a church is just some of the ideas that come out of the Judeo-Christian tradition and the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition are just, to me, horrific. The idea of original sin, the idea that you're born bad and, you've got this spiritual debt that you've got to pay. And, how did we incur this debt? None of us asked to be born. We just showed up here and somebody says we owe him? Screw him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I'm glad to see the Church of the Invisible Hand. I think it's got a great... Everything I hear that you talk about is really good stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing you continue to develop that and put it down in some sort of format that, beyond just... Like, right now, it's sort of in your head, a lot of it. And you spew it out when you have the opportunity, when you're in front of people, and it's always fucking great. And I hope that it comes into some other kind of like, written down or video form.
I don't have any idea how to freaking structure the thing. And the one thing
you can figure that out later. I think you can just kind of dump it, right? Like just do the brain dump, and then just spew it out in text or in video or whatever, and then figure out how to organize it.
Yeah, that's probably good. The problem is it doesn't tend to come out of me. Like you say, it tends to come out of me when other people are around. So I don't know. Maybe we should sit down in front of microphones and like have conversations about it.
The nice thing about writing it is that it's easier to edit. It's easier to move it around. It's easier to adjust
what's where, and definitely I should do some outlining. I guess
That would help.
Yeah,
And then you can just kind of fill in whatever it is you're feeling called to fill in.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. That would give me at least a number line to hang things on.
Look, this is one of the things that the Muslims are sort of both right and wrong about. They were right that God continued to speak, but they were wrong thinking that God stopped speaking with Muhammad. Right, so that's one of the things that they say.
I think they were wrong in believing that anything that Muhammad or Jesus or Abraham or Moses said was actually true. I think the Bible's false down to its very first word to last.
Truths in there. There's actually some pantheistic stuff in the Bible. There's actually some stuff like that there.
I think there are truths in it, but in terms of the historical narrative, I don't believe a word of it.
Sure.
In terms of the narrative of creation and Genesis, I don't believe a word of it. The concept of original sin,
no, there's some garbage there.
Absolutely not. And if you look at the moral teachings of the Old Testament, the New Testament isn't that bad in terms of like moral. If you cut that away from Revelations and from the Old Testament, look at it in and of itself, what Jesus said wasn't that bad. That's right. In terms of morality and how to live. Now, the idea that, the idea that we would be set up for life in a test where there was only a small subset of people were ever introduced to this guy in his time, but all of a sudden you have to believe in him or go to hell. It's not ridiculous. A fair test, and it contradicts the idea of a just God. Yeah. So even there's some nonsense, but
their God is a sick fuck.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I would have to regard him as an enemy if I believed that he existed.
That's why the speech from Al Pacino at the end of The Devil's Advocate is so good, because he basically calls out the Christian God as a fuckface, basically.
Can we play that?
You want to play the final speech from?
Yeah, I like the idea on these Freer Talk Lives of when we talk about something, we bring it up, show it to the audience, remind ourselves what it's about.
Okay, so Devil's Advocate. You've never seen this, though, right?
I've seen the movie, but I saw the movie like in the theaters in the 80s.
No, it would have been 1997.
Yeah, close enough.
So yeah, 22 years ago.
Yeah, 22 years ago. I was, my whole time in being sober was 22 years. That was a long time.
All right, so I don't know if this is the original version from the Laserdisc with the proper artwork in the background, but it might be.
If not, maybe we can find somebody who has the Laserdisc and get them to upload it.
I used to have it.
Ah, shit.
And then I sold all my Laserdiscs a long time ago. Wow. All right, so let me pull up the computer picture-in-picture here, and this should be it. Oh, it's shitty video, though. Hang on, let me see if we can find another version of it. Al Pacino. Let's try this one.
Who are you? Never lost a case.
They're attorneys, by the way. Just a little bit of this is toward the end of this film. If you're adjusting the wrong volume, so this is the one down here for you. Up, down. Good.
That's good.
Good. Okay, so Kevin, that's the character played by Keanu Reeves, and then Al Pacino here, whose name I'm forgetting right now, but Satan, basically.
Wait, whose name are you forgetting? Al Pacino.
Al Pacino's character's name.
Satan.
There's a name though that his character has.
Oh, okay,
in the movie. They're both Kevin. His
names are Legion.
Yes, and Kevin, the main protagonist or whatever, the main character, Keanu Reeves, doesn't know he's Satan. Obviously, in the beginning of the film, and the movie's sort of about him being tempted and falling to that temptation until this final moment where his final temptation is brought in front of him. And it's a really intense movie. And whether you're...
Does Keanu Reeves always play Jesus?
Let's go on.
Why do you think? Because you're so fucking good.
Yeah?
But why?
Because you're my father.
I'm a little more than that, Kevin. Awfully hot in that courtroom, wasn't it? What's the game plan, Kevin? Was a nice run, Kev. Had to close out someday. Nobody wins them all.
What are you?
Oh, I have so many names.
Did you know I was mover number
Call me Dad.
666?
Were you really?
The Free State Project.
I was 420.
You're 420 and I'm 666.
Marianne, she knew it. She knew it. She knew it, so you destroyed her.
You blaming me for Marianne? Oh, I hope you're kidding. Marianne, you could have saved her anytime you liked. All
His
she
wife.
wanted was love. Hey, you were too busy.
That's a lie.
Marianne in New York?
She
Face
kill
it.
herself?
Yes, she did, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I remember that.
We're going. I don't know if we should give it away as to how she did, but it was pretty horrifying. It's one of the more intense scenes in the film when his wife, Charlize Theron, who was much younger at the time, looked very nice. She killed herself in a very brutal way. It was pretty.
What
pretty
did
shocking.
she do? I gotta know now.
Do you want to know?
I want to know.
She cut her own throat with a piece of glass, a piece of broken glass.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty horrifying.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
You started looking to better deal her the minute you got here.
That's not true. You don't know what we had. You don't know anything about it.
Hey, I'm on your side.
You're a liar!
No, hey, Kevin, there's nothing out there for you. Don't be such a fucking chump. Stop deluding yourself. I told you to take care of your wife. What did I say? The world would understand. Didn't I say that? What did you do?
He did say that.
You know what scares me, John? I leave the case, she gets better, and then I hate her for it.
Remember?
Wow, talk about some inverted priorities. Really, you're going to hate your wife because she got sick while you were on a big case. Fuck your case.
I know what you did. You set me up.
Who told you to pull out all the stops on Mr. Geddes? Who made that choice?
It's entrapment. You set me up.
And Moyes, the direction you took. Popes, swamis, snake handlers, all feeding at the same trough. Whose ideas were those?
You played me. It was a test. Your test.
And Colin, knowing he was guilty, seeing those pictures, what did you do? You put that lying bitch on the stand.
You brought me in. You put me there. You made her lie.
I don't do that, Kevin. That day on the subway, what did I say to you? What were my words to you? Maybe it was your time to lose. You didn't think so.
Lose? I don't lose. I win. I win. I'm a lawyer. That's my job. That's what I do.
I rest my case.
Yeah. Made him confess.
Vanity is definitely my favorite sin.
Like
Kevin,
wrath.
so basic. Self-love, the all-natural opiate. It's not that you didn't care for Marianne, Kevin. It's just that you were a little bit more involved with someone else. Yourself.
You're right. I did it all.
Oh, this is actually the speech.
Oh, don't be too hard on yourself, Kevin.
It's good, but
You wanted something more, believe me.
I left her behind and just kept going.
You cannot keep punishing yourself, Kevin. It's
Wow,
awesome
this
how
was
far
not the
you've
speech.
come. I didn't make it easy.
I think this is right before the speech, so let me see if we can actually pull. I think I'm gonna have to play the shitty-looking version of it, though. Oh no, this might be it here. Let's try this one. This is the Devil's Advocate. If
Who
just
are
want
you
it.
carrying all those bricks for, anyway? God? Is that it?
This is it, yeah.
God?
So he's brought out his sister, who's this girl, this chick over here on the right. And he's tempting her because like Kevin was in love with her, but turns out they're sisters or whatever, or half sisters. I forget which.
Oh,
but and
brother and sister.
Yeah, it has something to do with the Antichrist and all that. Anyway, let's go on.
Well, I tell you.
It's been a while since I've
Let
seen
me give
it.
you a little inside information about God. God likes to watch.
Here you go.
He's a prankster. Think about it. He gives man instincts. He gives you this extraordinary gift, and then what does he do? I swear, for his own amusement, his own private cosmic gag reel, he sets the rules in opposition. It's the goof of all time. Look, but don't
touch. Touch. But don't
touch.
Taste.
But don't taste. Taste. Don't swallow. And while you're jumping from one foot to the next, what is he doing? He's laughing his sick fucking ass off. He's a tight ass. He's a sadist. He's an absentee landlord. Worship
Amen.
that? Never.
Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven, is that it?
Why not? I'm here on the ground with my nose in it since the whole thing began. I've nurtured every sensation man has been inspired to have. I cared about what he wanted, and I never judged him. Why? Because I never rejected him, in spite of all his imperfections. I'm a fan of man. I'm a humanist. Maybe the last humanist. Who, in their right mind, Kevin, could possibly deny the 20th century was entirely mine? All of it, Kevin! All of it. Mine. I'm peaking, Kevin. It's my time now. It's our time.
Anybody want a drink? I'm having a drink.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit more to it, but pretty
I like
epic
that
shit.
speech. Yeah, and you know, I couldn't disagree. I mean, if
No.
you look at even the text of Genesis, it's like in the garden, God tells Adam and Eve, if you eat the fruit, you will die. They ate the fruit, they didn't die. So who
You
lied?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Satan said they would live like gods. Now, I don't believe that any of this is true history, that
Sure.
it happened, that it has any, but even their story it doesn't add up. Nothing in it adds up. The idea that somehow one guy can die and that makes all the sins of mankind okay. That's a sack of crap.
It's ridiculous.
That doesn't even where's the mechanism by which that works? Somebody has.
Yeah. I don't believe
This does not make sense.
Yeah, I personally I don't believe in the Christian hell, Satan God mix that they have there. But if it were true, if I did believe that the general story were true, I would believe that the Christian God is actually the devil. That he's he's the devil that's managed to fool all these people into a life of obedience and control. And that to me is something that a devil would do,
Interesting.
Yeah.
In The Usual Suspects, they said the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist.
Yeah.
Maybe the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he was
God. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, isn't it interesting the way these Christians behave? They behave in very nasty manners towards people. They are not loving people.
All of them. I know kind and gentle Christians.
I agree with you. We know those people. Yeah.
My mom claims Christianity, but her interpretation of what Christianity is like, be really nice to everybody. And if everybody read it that way, I would be cool with Christianity.
Right. Yeah, if being a Christian meant actually emulating Jesus, they'd be all right. But they don't even come close to that.
Yeah.
They don't even try to come close to that.
Well, the thing is that it's the Old Testament leaking back out. You've got Leviticus. It's the only place where homosexuality is discussed in the Bible. But yet that's supposed to be the be-all and end-all of morality. Why didn't Jesus mention that shit if it was so important that your sex life was kept in check?
Right.
You know, Jesus hung out with the hookers. And I don't blame him. I've hung out with some hookers. It's a good time. You know, they're chill as shit. You can't piss them off.
Let's take a little break here, and we'll continue here in just a few moments. You are welcome to join us at 603-283-6160. That is a toll-free number, and you can jump in here to add whatever you want to the conversation. Take us in a completely different direction. We ended up on religion, talking about The Devil's Advocate, which is a great movie. If you've never seen it, definitely watch the whole thing. I haven't seen it in years straight through, but yeah, it used to be on Laserdisc, and that's actually the original version of it. They changed something due to a lawsuit in that final scene. In the background, the artwork in the background. We talked about that the other night. But anyway, we'll continue here with more Freer Talk Live and leave you with a little bit of trance in the meantime. This is Ordinary World. It is Freer Talk Live, and that is, let's see, Bash and Solaris versus Nickel Prakash with Crater. So we're here, and it is Freer Talk Live, which means we're not on the radio. And that means that you can say things that you otherwise wouldn't be able to get away with. We'd otherwise have to hang up on you for, which I don't ever want to do, but I have to. You know, it's one of the prices you have to pay to be on broadcast radio.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, you know, even when people are calling up and, like, saying racist shit, like, I would rather hear it and refute it than not hear it.
Well, I mean, we've had racists on the air before. I mean, when Chris Cantwell calls in, we don't hang up on him just because he's a racist.
Right.
But if you say the N-word, then we got to hang up on you.
Yeah.
So, like, you can be a racist and call Free Talk Live, and we will call you out, and we'll have a conversation, and we'll refute it, and we can do all of those things. It's just if you start throwing out, you know, racist slurs or whatever, we're going to have to let you go because, you know, the advertisers don't like that stuff, and the radio stations don't like it, and
even D-Live and Twitch don't like it.
D-Live and Twitch certainly don't like it, yeah.
Yeah. Which, you know, on the one hand, I think it's good that they don't like it. On the other hand, I think they should tolerate it even though they don't like it.
I tend to agree with you.
Because, you know, I don't want to debate Cantwell when he's got one intellectual arm tied behind his back. And if that's the best argument he can come up with, I think I can refute it.
Well, I mean, Cantwell isn't tied. I mean, just because you can't say the N-word doesn't mean you've tied your arm behind your back.
Well, true, but, you know, I debate better on Freer Talk Live than I do on Free Talk Live.
It's a better
because
format
I don't have to restrict my language.
Yes.
Now, I never have a problem on Freer Talk Live not saying that word, because that word, I don't let that word fall out of my mouth except under very rare circumstances.
Right.
But at the same time, like, if I'm debating and I can't curse, I feel restricted.
Restricted. Sure, you're not expressing yourself in the way that you otherwise would.
Yeah.
But that's not always something that necessarily restricts the flow of ideas, right? So, you know, the morning show hosts are great examples of this in radio, in music radio. There's morning show hosts that have come up with words that they can put in place of profanity that essentially serves as profanity for the show. It's just not, you know, historic profanity, so therefore they're not prohibited. So, you know, a good example of this off radio would be Battlestar Galactica, the remake version of that show where they said frack instead of fuck.
Oh,
remember
and
that?
humped on Firefly also. I didn't watch Battlestar Galactica,
okay.
but they did that on Firefly too, where they'd say, oh, we're humped.
The morning shows do that shit too, where they'll, you know, make up their own words. They can still say what they intend to say. It's just that they're skirting around the FCC rules.
Yeah, and you know, that can enhance an art form, having rules,
restrictions.
But you know, I really prefer just rough and tumble, let it all hang out. If you want to call me a cracker, call me a cracker.
Yep. I wish that we could. It's, you know, one of those things that we just have to do. But now that we have the internet, we don't have to do it anymore. We're here on Freer Talk Live. We're not beholden to anybody, with the exception of the gods at D-Live and Twitch.
Yeah, but see, someday I want to see that go, and I want to see us all broadcasting out of our own houses, because that's going to be the only time that we can say whatever the fuck we want to.
It's true. And that's what Chris Wade's doing over at Freedom Decrypted. I mean, he's broadcasting on his own platform that he created. And he may have more viewers than we do right now on Twitch and D-Live. I mean, the total, total amount of viewers here that we have is usually in the, you know, low double digits. Not to say we're not grateful. I mean, we got 5 on D-Live and 8 on Twitch right now. So, I mean, certainly I'm grateful for the people that are watching. But for the people that are like the superstars on these platforms, you could argue, yeah, it's a great idea to do your own thing. You know, please do that. Let's decentralize. Let's get off these platforms. But the platform does bring a benefit, right? It's a platform, meaning that you're more visible there in theory, you could be more visible because of the platform.
Right. So if you've got a federated or decentralized broadcast platform, you still have to have a centralized place to go. And that's your search engine. Just like there are search engines for torrents, there would have to be search engines where you would go and just like you would go to a centralized service, the difference is nobody can stop somebody else from setting up a new search engine, just like Google can't stop
That's
you
true.
from competing with them. And so that's what you gain